Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. We are back for our monthly live stream with the Grayson County Conservatives from Grayson County, Texas. Now, we started this back in, I want to say it was like November, and we did a couple of live streams, and then we took off the month of January, but we're back again. We've got our timing correct. And so we plan to be here with you every month with the Grayson County Conservatives team. And really, what we're trying to do is just spread more light on what's going on in some of these red states and around the country. So, we're going to be talking about issues that don't just impact people in Texas or Florida, but on a national level. And we're going to be talking about some of these digital ID and identity framework issues that have been going on around the country. So I think we're in for a good discussion today. So please be sure to let us know in the live chat where you are watching from. And please be sure to post any questions in the live chat. And we will try to get to some of those while we are chatting here. Without further ado, let me bring out the Grayson County Conservative team. We've got Brian and Joy Roberts and Pastor Zach Poling. Guys, it's so good to see you again. Happy New Year. We took last month off, but we are back today with a packed schedule to talk about today. But I want to let you guys sort of lead things off. So Texas legislature is not in session in odd, even years.
Correct.
But you guys have a bunch of issues that you're dealing with. And one of the top ones is around the education, the school choice policy that was passed in 2025. So I want to let you guys kind of start and tell us what's going on with this. Maybe you can give a little bit of background so people understand what passed in 2025 and what that is looking like now.
So yeah, on the ground, I guess what we're looking at right now is that they just, I think earlier late last week, the school choice program began. It rolled out, and people are now being encouraged to sign up for that and apply for that. Yeah, and so that's basically where we are as far as what's brought it back to the forefront again a little bit.
So yeah, it's they're encouraging everyone to apply, and I think that all of the politicians are celebrating it and talking about how Texas had the biggest first day of applications for school choice ever in the country. And they're even telling people, even if you don't plan on using the program, that you should go ahead and sign up, because the more people that sign up, the more money there will be available next time. So they're talking about next time raising the money already. They're already talking about the next session and how we'll go ahead and sign up now, because it'll give them, give us a reason to increase funding.
What's discouraging about all that is that if you're watching out there, you're seeing some of the more prominent conservative type libertarians, free market people screaming to go sign up and let's get more money in this government program. And it's just, it's really like the whole world is just flipped. I mean, you see the free market people basically screaming for, expansion of a socialist program.
And calling it capitalism. It's very strange.
Yeah, it seems like we've been seeing that with a lot of these so-called conservative policies. Yes, that really look like socialism. And I'm going to throw like the Trump, what is it, baby bucks or whatever the Trump accounts are for the babies. Like, that's not conservative policy. And the school choice thing is right along with that. And I think, we're seeing this with people who are so frustrated with the public education system. They see the school choice as this bright, shiny object, as, okay, well, this is going to give me educational freedom. But what they fail to understand is anything that the government is controlling, they're going to control it, right? They're going to dictate who can use it, how much you can use it, where you can use it, what kind of reporting you're going to have to do to the government in order to get that, continue getting that funding. And I think it's really interesting when you say that they are encouraging everyone to apply, even if they're not going to use it yet, so that they have reason to come back in future legislative sessions and say, we need more money because we have all these younger children who are coming up into the school pipeline and we need to fund that. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that the school choice dollars took anything away from your public school dollars in Texas.
It did not.
Actually, the public school dollars expanded $8 billion this year. So
last year.
Last year going into.
And how much was put into the school choice?
$1 billion this year and $11 billion over 5 years is the initial allotment. But I guess they want to expand that grotesquely, it sounds like.
It's coming from two different funds because the Texas State Constitution says that we must fund public school in the state of Texas. So you cannot legally take money from public schools in Texas and move them to private schools or any other school because of literally it's in the Constitution. So it is completely different lane of government. It's a brand new funding mechanism. Everything is completely different. So it is $11 billion added to our taxes over 5 years. And then in order to kind of sweeten the pot, because people were like, oh, you're still going to take, butts out of seats and send it to the private schools. They said, well, we're going to give you $8 billion to make it a little bit easier. And I should mention that I think every Republican in the House voted for that, minus
2, maybe.
I think 2. I could be wrong, so don't quote me, but I think only 2 Republicans voted against that $8 billion increase to public schools.
So $11 billion over the course of 5. Did you say 5 years?
5 years.
5 years. And so roughly $2 billion a year plus $8 billion to the public school system. We're talking almost $20 billion.
Yes,
well, the $8 billion is going forward for 5. That's just the first year. That's a 1-year bump.
Yeah, that's in
$8 billion to public schools is just for 1 year.
I think so. Maybe I could be wrong on that one. I haven't been.
Don't quote us.
It wouldn't surprise me.
But I assumed that when I saw.
But $8 billion is nothing because that's in addition to the $131 billion.
I don't know.
I can't remember what the number is that
around
public
100
school gets per year. Okay, around 100. Around 100 billion per year already. So
wow.
Yes.
So what has I know you guys have put out a letter.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about what the letter is and kind of your goal with that letter?
Absolutely. So there are several private schools that are taking the government cheese, and there are parents who are not applying for the money because there is a lot of tracking going on with anytime you take the money, you have agreed to send things to state agencies, testing. I don't even know everything that's included, but there are several things that have to be tracked through the state. And when a school takes the government cheese, they send everything from the school, an entire data dump, to these state agencies. So we have a letter that parents can give to these private schools that basically says, we are not involved in the SB2 school choice program. We are not applying for it. Our data does not belong to the state because we are not included in that. So please keep our data out of that. And we would like to have this in writing from you in 14 days verifying that this will happen. And it's very easy. It's on our website, GraysonCountyConservatives.com. And it's just a download and you'll have to copy and paste it. It's not something that you can fill in and fill out. We didn't want people to feel like we were keeping track of anything, because we're not. So you just copy and paste it, put it in your own document, fill it out. And, it does take some filling out. You can't just do it on your own. You have to include names and schools and dates and that kind of thing. Copy, paste it, and send it along. And we can't guarantee that it's going to do anything, but we can at least have something in writing to help maybe keep our data free of the state.
The interesting thing, though, is that the Republican platform said no strings attached, and we're already dealing with a string here.
Yeah.
There's many more to come, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure. Especially as they, once they get people hooked into it and their kids are at a certain school or in some certain type of education program that is receiving this funding, the parents are going to comply because they'll want to keep those services, that education system for their kids. It's kind of like what we're seeing in the social media world with the mandates that they're wanting to put in there. It's like you get people dependent on these social media systems or the internet or whatever, that once the mandate comes, they'll just have to comply because now they can't live without it. So the school choice thing it seems like it's going to be sort of the same way. Like, okay, we're in it now, we're dependent on this, and so we're going to comply with whatever they ask. And as all of us know, they're going to ask for more. There's going to be more restrictions and guidelines that families will have to abide by in order to continue getting the funding.
Yeah. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
It really is. You look at it.
I saw Alex Newman on Robert Borkin's. Am I pronouncing that right?
I don't know.
Important.
He's the director of Classical Conversations, or the founder, I guess, of
Yes.
Classical Conversations. And he had Alex Newman on his his podcast, and it was just a really short, brief thing, but I recommend everyone look it up. And he was very clear on how school choice is going to evolve in all of no matter where you are, not just Texas, but anywhere. It's going to evolve and slowly get worse. And I think it's Arizona. They're already upping the testing.
Yep.
It was just last year or the year before that they brought in school choice, and they're already upping the amount of testing that's required. So we know that it's just a matter of time, and it's a trap, basically.
For sure.
Well,
Zach, what were you going to add?
Well, we're seeing it even in the.
Zach, your mic is.
I'm hearing him.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh,
You guys
okay.
can't hear him?
We
Nope.
cannot hear him.
We're seeing this also with athletics in Facebook. They're constantly promoting. You can use your vouchers for your kids' select clubs, and you can use them here for baseball or anything and everything. Help your kid get a Division I scholarship with school choice money. Is that what we're intending for that to be used for?
Wow.
Yeah. We were looking at that because it's the hook, right? Well, I have my kid in all these select teams, and we're traveling around everywhere. That's my goal. So hey, we can get you throw the bait out there for you as well. And if you take it, now we're going to be able to collect your data that way. And we're going to get that hooker.
So they're able to use the school choice vouchers for select teams for athletics.
Yeah, and certain the athletic programs that are private that will accept that for high school and under, you're able to use voucher money for that.
Wow.
Certain academies and that kind of thing for sports.
Yeah, and I think throwing the athletics in there with it is definitely one of those carrots to, getting people sucked in, so they will be reliant and dependent upon these government programs. And it's amazing to me that more people can't see this. And I just want to pause for a second and just let everybody know we're dealing with like some serious techno gremlins today. Get behind thee, Satan.
That's right.
Seriously, anytime you're going to have these really important conversation, the devil gets in there and like starts throwing a wrench in things. So Joy and Brian cannot hear Zach when he's talking. So if sometimes you hear me summarizing what Zach just said, that's for Brian and Joy's benefit. So they are still in the loop on the conversation. So we're going to try and get through this wonkiness. So just bear with us. But this is really important information. So
it's not just select teams either. It's horseback riding, it's ballet, it's you name it. It can be included as long as I can't remember all of the stipulations. There are stipulations. It has to be like a business within the state of Texas, like corporate in the state of Texas, and some things like that. So like there is some, we know that there is some curriculum. I'm sorry, I couldn't come up with the word. There is some curriculum that is not going to be covered because they are not within the state of Texas. So like Abeka, I think ACE, Bob Jones, they are not located within the state of Texas at this point as a company. So they are not getting the Texas. Yeah, go ahead and tell them about that.
I don't know. I'm just.
Oh, okay. So they aren't able to apply. So my bet is it won't be long before they have a real quick, small, corporation set up here in Texas so that they can get that funding. At least for some of them. I know that there are some. I know Classical Conversations is not taking the money. I don't know about Abeka. I don't know about these other ones. I just know that currently they cannot get the funding because of that. So
here's one of the things, because Florida has, I think Florida was one of the first states to get a school choice program, and a lot of people like it, but honestly, most of the people that I meet here homeschool their children, and so they're not taking part in the school choice stuff at all.
Good.
But one of the things that's been happening here, and I think we've kind of talked offline about it, is the Muslim schools that are taking a lot of this money, and like it's becoming a very big problem, and the Muslim teachings and the Muslim way of life is really not compatible with American culture.
Yes.
So they're coming here and they're not like assimilating into our culture. They're bringing their culture. And this is one of the things that isn't really talked about. Plus you've got, maybe like LGBTQ type schools that are more inclusive and doing the DEI stuff, that conservatives like used these things as a reason to say we need school choice so that we don't have this anymore. But yet it's actually, like, I would say, ramping up under school choice. What's your take on this? Because I know it's happening in Texas too.
Yeah, that's certainly been kind of a controversy going on, publicly, is that, and that has put a lot of attention onto what's really going on with the schools here. And I hope that, more of that, people become more aware of that, because I think Joy knows the numbers a little better, but there are a number of Islam schools already ready to roll, pretty much, that are accredited, and
there are over 20 that are currently accredited, and there are many, many more that are coming down the pipeline. Private schools. And so a lot of times people think, oh, this school choice, it's going to my little Baptist or my little Catholic school down the corner. And that can be true, but it's, because we are the United States and it's freedom of religion, this money is going to everything. It's going to Wiccan schools. It's going to, you name it. And so, for those who don't know, who aren't in Texas, especially in the DFW area, this has become a mecca for Islamics to move. There are literally billboards in other countries saying, move to DFW because you will find, that kind of thing. And so it is really, really a problem. Anyone who lives here can tell you that it's a problem. They're building large neighborhoods where their goal is to have Sharia law within these neighborhoods, as basically it's its own small town. And now we're going to be providing their schools with our tax money. So it's a major problem. They've definitely learned how to use the system in every way. And this was an argument that was made back at the time, and we were poo-pooed and eye rolls and ignored, but it's a real thing. And Lynn Davenport has a whole lot of information on this. So if you were to follow her on X, she's definitely got a lot more information on this specifically. I know she's been speaking about it, at length, and knows quite a bit more than we do. But yeah, it's very, very concerning.
Yeah, and I want to get Lynn on. Zach, I want to let you. I think you have something to add here.
Yeah, so I know in the political realm, the backlash or the pushback that you will get is that it's hypocritical of us because we don't want our tax dollars being funded for an Islamic school or a Wiccan school, but we're more than willing to fund a Christian school. But this is what you're going to get if you choose school choice. That's what you're going to have. We have freedom of religion, and you didn't want your money to go to an Islamic school to teach whatever they're going to be teaching. Too bad. If you're going to vote that in, this is what happens. So the solution to that is don't fund it. Don't do this, and you won't have this problem because they're not going to win in court. You're not going to be able to discriminate against a Muslim school. Maybe the government doesn't need to be funding any sort of private religious education, keep them away from it. But they're not going to do that because if they did, they wouldn't be able to collect our data, and they wouldn't be able to do, I think what their ultimate goal here is to control education from the top down. They're going to put everything under an umbrella and try to control it. And not just from the state level, it's going to go to a federal level.
Yeah. And, while the federal school choice thing, which is like if you donate to a non-education nonprofit, those are tax deductible or it's something along those lines, or you put, I forget the details of it. It is the way I see the federal piece of it is that policy that they passed was really just sort of to open the door because they weren't able to get the full the full policy that they want. But if they could at least crack the door open, then they can start inching it along, which is what they do with every policy. Right.
Yeah.
And so Brian and Joy, Zach was just saying how, because we are America and freedom of religion, you can't discriminate on who gets the funding for this. And that's a big piece of this. And one of the things that I don't know if people realize is the other side, the non-conservative Christian people who are trying to figure out how to educate their kids without indoctrinating them. We're like 20 years behind everything. And all these other groups of people, they already have the systems in place. They already know what that education is going to look like for their kids. And so when this policy is implemented, they're at the front door waiting for it to open and the first people to get the funding because they're very well organized. And I think it's a detriment on, it's a problem on the right that we're not really organized. We're not really strategic across the board. Like, it doesn't matter if it's campaigns and elections or legislation. I think just in general, the right is much more like hands off. We're just going to let the government do their job and we're going to assume they're all following the Constitution. But how long is it going to take for us to have all these different things happening? The LGBTQ agenda, the COVID stuff, the 9/11, all these big things that are sort of these big wake up moments for us. What is it actually going to take? Like, we'll wake up for a little bit and then everybody goes back to life as normal. I just it's frustrating to me because I don't know, I think all of us here on this live stream, we're all screaming at the top of our lungs to try to wake other people up. And they're just like, I don't want to pay attention.
It'll probably
I was
wake
having
up.
a conversation with a friend yesterday, and I said, there's this giant. I'm sorry, did I talk over Zach?
It's okay.
No,
Go
you
ahead.
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, Zach. I can't hear you. All I can see is your mouth moving about this one. Go ahead, Zach.
I think they'll wake up probably whenever they start coming for us, if then.
When it's
And
too late, when it's
when it's
very
too
much
late.
too late. Yeah.
And they'll howl, how did this happen? Well, we've been trying to tell you.
And I'm going to say I yelled at the top of my lungs for as long as I could. I'm not sharing my food with you. I gave you a chance.
Yeah.
Or my ammo. Go ahead, Joy.
Oh, well, I was talking with a friend yesterday and I said, we're watching this gigantic freight train going off the rails. And there's no stopping this freight train, I don't think, at this point. Like it's way too big, it's way too heavy, and the rails are pretty much gone.
Yeah.
And there's not a whole lot we can do at this point except for warn people to get out of the way of this freight train and at least save a few lives here and there to at least move out of the way as long as possible. At some point, the freight train is going to get too big and it's going to hit everybody. But if we can slow it down, or I don't even know if we can slow it down, but at least if we can just get some people out of the way, and it, if even like with our letter, I mean, I don't know, at some point, I'm sure the schools are going to have to include every single student and everything, but at least for now, we can slow it down for the people that are there. Another thing that I noticed, and I just remembered as I was writing that letter, I was going through the bill and I noticed a piece in the legislation that I had never seen before. And that was that all of your teachers and employees of the schools data must be reported. So any kind of records have to be included. And I know that like the criminal record would need to be included, and that I can kind of understand that
Sure.
to me makes sense. But this was pretty much everything that they had on you. So
Wow.
it had to be included.
I have a pastor friend in Western Washington. He has a church and they opened a school. It was either right before COVID or COVID was the reason they started the school, but they are not state certified. They do not take any kind of state money. They want nothing to do with the state. Like they're intentionally not state certified. And that to me as a parent, I would love that. I would love to send my kid to a private school that was like, yeah, we're not having anything to do with the government. And for my Washington friends who are watching, wondering, where is that school? How can I get my kids in there? It is Lighthouse Christian Academy, part of the House Church in Snohomish, Washington. So anything else on the school choice that we want to touch on before I want to make sure that we dig into the SAVE Act a little bit here?
Just quickly, I was just gonna on the the Islam or foreign people using school choice money. That did bring enough attention to it that Abbott did put a little stopgap in there. It's more of a lip service thing, but they said that they're not going to they're not going to allow terrorist organizations to be involved, which, we're not really, I mean, the majority of these schools are not going to be able to be shown to be associated with terrorists. So it's really just, he's given lip service to it to try to kind of alleviate that concern for now.
And I think the Supreme Court already ruled on this in another state. So it's only a matter of time. The state of Texas will be taken to court over this. And it's only a matter of time. And Lynn had information on that as well. And she knew the exact same, she knew the exact case and whatnot. And I don't remember what that is, but the Supreme Court has ruled in other states. So I'm sure it's not going to be long before Texas has the same.
And what I think is really going to be more of a mass quantity is going to be your H-1Bs, probably more so than Islam schools, the ones that are coming in from India or other countries that are, H-1Bs, not citizens necessarily. Maybe some are, but it's still a culture difference that's going to be put into these private schools. And that's probably more money's probably going to go in that direction, at least in Texas, than in an Islam direction.
Yeah.
And in Washington, where we lived in Washington, there was a large population of H-1Bs because you had, Microsoft, Google, Meta, a lot of people that come over from India and they start having kids here. And their kids usually don't speak English because they're speaking their native language at home. And so the kids usually go off to public school, and that creates huge barriers for the teachers, right? So this has been going on now for nearly 3 decades. But those are the types of people. They're here legally. They would be able to create these schools and have this money, and then they're educating their kids with their home culture, way of life, their own language. And it won't be like they're trying to teach them English and help them assimilate into American culture, which is, people will say, well, we need to be inclusive of other nations and nationalities and religious groups and whatnot. And while I agree with that, I don't think inclusion means to the point that we are sacrificing the culture of our country. But make no mistake, that is the goal of many on the left, who they want this. They don't want the Western American way of life.
Yeah, certainly.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Well, I just want to wrap that up with, I know you connected me with Lynn Davenport, and I definitely want to get her on to do an interview so we can dig even deeper into this, because I think the education piece is a really huge piece of the everything is all connected. It's just all a big web, and all of the pieces that we're talking about today, it's all connected to each other. So all right, let's move on to the SAVE Act. This is where the original bill that was pitched was you provide proof of citizenship to be able to vote. And I think we all could get on board with that. That sounds like a great idea. When I go to vote in Florida, we vote in person, which is unlike Washington State. I think you guys in Texas vote in person.
Yes.
Okay. So I show my driver's license and I sign my name on something, and then they give me a ballot and I go vote. That was what I understood the original bill to be, is that you would just show some kind of proof of citizenship when you go to your polling location, and then you vote. The new bill that's in Congress right now, and it's amazing to me. This is the same thing we've seen with like the social media bills, is you've got these organizations and groups on the right that are like, we have to pass this bill to save the children.
Yeah.
And now it's like, we have to pass this bill to ensure that only citizens are voting. And they put a bunch of stuff into the bill. The bill that was passed out of the House is different than the original bill. And now it's in the Senate, and I think it's Susan Collins voted no on it. And I was like, well, I'm fine with that. Zach, actually, we have a little group chat, and Zach the other day was like, hey, what do you know about the SAVE Act and some sort of ID infrastructure going on here? And so I dug into that over the weekend. I'm glad you said something, Zach, because I had actually been watching Chris Ann Hall on X, and she was like sounding the alarm on it as well. So they've amended this. I want to get my facts right. So let me bring up my, so the original version was really simple. Birth certificate, passport, real ID, naturalization papers. And you would just show that, sign up to vote. It wasn't really a data collection type of thing beyond your, registering to vote. The new one has a bunch of DHS and immigration stuff wrapped into it, basically making it. And here's what I think is interesting. There's a lot of interesting, nefarious things. There's like a 24/7 data sharing system between states and the federal government with the existing bill. Have you guys looked at this? Like, have you guys gone down the HR 22 rabbit hole yet?
I haven't gone completely down it. I did a little bit of that. Is that new? Is the data sharing new? Because I know that 9/11 opened up the door to a whole bunch of data sharing, but I guess the 24/7 aspect of it.
Well, and this is specific to this voter database.
Okay.
And the interesting link with DHS and the data that DHS collects, this will be sharing and monitoring with DHS all the time.
Wow.
So it's almost like they are, this is what I gather from it. Like there's the sales pitch is we need to implement all these different databases so that we can cross-reference to make sure that none of our illegals in our DHS database are on your voter database over here. Like this is the sales pitch, right?
Right.
But really it's to build the infrastructure to have all of our ID and
That's
to,
right.
yeah.
Have your
Right.
data.
And I look at it like what they're doing with the digital ID age verification laws for, protect the kids. We have to do this to protect the kids.
Yes.
But we're collecting everybody's data. We're not telling you how we're going to collect it or where we're going to store it or how we're going to keep it safe.
Offline just a moment.
Yes. And it's all like it all mixes together. I'm sorry, Zach. Go ahead.
You're about to make the exact point I was going to say. You've got an ID in place, and now they're going to be able to track you 24/7 and connect all of your data to your ID. And the common response from Christians who should know better, who should be as wise as serpents and innocent as doves is, well, we can trust them, I guess. No, that is not to be the response of a believer in Christ to this. You have to open your eyes and see. You may think that your politician is good as gold, but they will not always be in place. And they may not always be as good as gold. And they may not even now have the best intentions in mind. So once they've got that, it's checkmate. Right. You have in place everything that is needed for a beast system to be implemented. If it's not already, they know everywhere you're going because they have cameras that can track you. And now they're going to have all your information basically in real time connected to you. Back to Jordan.
Yeah. Do you want me to recap it? He was basically like, Christians need to be very discerning about this, wise as serpents, gentle as doves. And it's interesting that Christians, and maybe because this is primarily a Republican sponsored policy, so the Christians are like, yeah, they don't actually understand or read everything that's in the policy and how it's going to work. Joy, what were you going to say?
I don't remember. It's okay.
Okay. Do you guys, so one of the things I thought was interesting as I was going through this bill is the exemption from the Paperwork Reduction Act.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that was. I had to go learn what that was. Go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to say, when I was watching your video on that, I did find that interesting too. I was kind of going to ask you questions, maybe you know or not, if that's kind of a long-term exemption so that any new data that they want to add to it over time. I guess the background to that is that the Paper Reduction Act makes it where you have to clarify why you're asking for certain data or why you're asking for more data to be captured. Do you know if that just pretty much gives an open door to them to just add data as they go?
That's the way I understand it.
Okay.
And in order to change that, they would have to come back and amend this bill. But we all know that they're not going to come and put more guardrails on it.
Yeah, I find that one pretty disturbing, to tell you the truth.
That's what I thought too. As I was reading through some of it, I was like, oh, Paperwork Reduction Act, no big deal. And then I'm like, you know what? I don't know what the Paperwork Reduction Act is. I should go look that up. And so when I went and looked that up, I was like, oh, like that is a big problem. So the Paperwork Reduction Act is really a protection for we, the people, for the citizens, where the government, if they are going to do some kind of data collection, they have to go through a process that gives accountability to what they're doing, justify why they need this data, and give citizens a chance to comment on that process as they're going through that. And this whole removal of the exemption from that, I feel like that's probably one of the biggest red flags in the entire bill, because it just is like big bright light that says, well, we're going to do secret stuff and we're not going to tell you guys what it is.
Kind of like the Patriot Act.
Yeah, kind of like that. I think it's interesting. I haven't compared them side by side, but I feel like HR 22 and the SAVE Act has a lot of similarities to, at least with intention, to the Patriot Act. Right? National security. We got to do this for now, keep everything secure. Why is it always we the people that suffers with this national security stuff?
Yeah, and I see people with really great intentions. I've several Facebook groups of someone saying, call your congressman and tell them to please vote for the SAVE Act to protect, to keep illegals from voting and that kind of thing. And it's like, you don't understand. This is not the way. Do I agree that we should have ID to vote? Absolutely. I don't want, every random person going in and voting. That's a problem. However, this is not the way.
Yeah.
And you were also saying, Julie, that the original one was very simple, and it really did just ask, that require ID for voting. But the amendments that were piled onto that really changed the dynamic of what we're looking at here.
And nobody's talking about that. They kind of make, like, when you hear politicians talking about it and influencers or whoever, they kind of make it sound like it's the original. You just got to show ID to vote.
Yeah, and in the state of Texas, illegals can get driver's license. It's not hard. And I don't exactly know how or why or what the mechanism is in that. I have not looked, but I do know that illegals get driver's license all the time. I was so frustrated when I had to go get my driver's license renewed, and it had gone too long. I thought it had expired the year before, and I had to take in an unbelievable amount of paperwork to get my license renewed. And the person in front of me had absolutely nothing and just got their license.
Wow.
So and this was years ago. This was at least 10 years ago. And so I don't know how easy it is now, but my guess is it's probably easier. So it's a problem because it's not as simple as just showing your driver's license. And so they've started this problem, and now they have to come up with a solution. So,
yeah. Zach, did you want to add anything to that? Just looking.
I'm hoping that we're seeing, as believers in Christ, a common trend here of, with school choice, well, you do want to help poor families get a better education. With the Patriot Act, well, you do want to stop terrorists from attacking. And now we have, well, you don't want illegals voting in your elections, do you? So in each and every one of them, there needs to be, on our end, some scrutiny and discernment when it comes to these things, to say, yes, we do want that, but are you really offering that as a solution, or are you doing something that is going to hem us in as citizens to collect our information, to control us? And if the answer is that is what this is opening the door for, then no, I reject your solution. Do better.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. And I feel like, before we went live, we were all kind of talking about this, how the identity verification system built into HR 22, the SAVE Act, and what we're seeing with age verification policies related to social media and the internet, it's all really connected into a singular system, and it's happening very, very quickly, too quickly for people to respond. Is what it seems to me. Like I say, we're playing whack-a-mole with these policies. And I think that is completely by design, so that people just feel overwhelmed and there's nothing we can do, to Joy's point about the freight train, which I fully agree with. This is a freight train. It is off the rails. We can't stop it, but we can get out of the way and we can make as much noise. And I particularly think that we need to be waking up Christians.
yes.
Because Christians, Christian policy organizations, Christian churches are very supportive of these policies, which really concerns me. When I was in Tallahassee last week testifying against the App Store Accountability Act, which is age verification for all users who want to download an app, the person after me, I think Meta went right after me, and then the person after Meta was from like the Christian Family Foundation or, you know, something like that. I forget the exact name. And they were like, we have to protect our kids. The government has to do more to protect our kids. And I'm speechless with these people. Like, does the church think that parents are mandated to give their kids a smartphone and access to an app store? Like, there is no mandate that parents have to do that. Parents have the power. Like it.
Well,
Heaven forbid.
I mean, just a
parents
side thing here on all the organizations with names like that. We
Yeah.
have, I don't know, in Texas, we have a huge problem with really good sounding organization names pushing really bad legislation and really bad changes to things. I mean, so I don't know if that's the same problem, if that's a nationwide problem, but in Texas, it's certainly, you know, a problem.
Well, you're seeing it with like the Family Policy Institute, the Family Alliance, the, you know, Conservative Family Heritage Foundation is one of the big, you know, they're like the granddaddy of conservative think tanks, and they're supportive of all this stuff. They're supportive of repealing Section 230, which I think would be a disaster. You know, you've got parents groups like Moms for America and Moms for Liberty and Parents United and all these different parent organizations that are supporting this. And it's like, you guys were just out here last week saying we don't co-parent with the government, and you're begging for a government mandate. What is going on?
Right.
It makes no sense.
And there's a guy that's a very well-known libertarianist conservative thinker. He's written books and everything, and he's out there. He's totally supporting.
Tell them what books.
Are you talking about Jonathan Haidt?
No, I'm talking about Connor Boyack.
Oh, I saw. Yeah.
Tuttle twins. But he's just completely on board with, you know, the school choice program. He ignores the redistribution, the government planning, all the things that define it as socialist. But daily he's tweeting, you know, the good things, the ideas that, you know, that are behind free markets and everything. And like all day, every day he tweets that, but then throws in, oh, school choice is great. It's just confusing.
You know, and we were talking about that. I know I'm leading this back around to the SAVE Act, is that school choice, the kids that were not in public school, the kids that were homeschooling, the kids were at these private schools. There are many private schools that were like the private school you were just speaking about, that weren't involved. They didn't have any kind of certification or anything, and they're becoming certified so that they can get the government cheese. There was no state data on these kids at all. They were out of the system completely. And now with school choice, that data is going to the state. And so everyone that signs their child up, there is data included. So we've got school choice data. We've got digital ID data. We've got the federal ID possible. We've got the SAVE Act. We've got something called the Infrastructure Act, which I apologize, I don't know too much about it, but I do know that it has to do with bio-tracking. And it's very
new.
Yes, the Infrastructure Act. I would recommend everyone go learn about it. I've only just seen teeny tiny bits and I haven't had time to really dig in, but it's, you know, it's tracking like with cameras and things like that, and constantly keeping track of that. And so you add all of these things together and you are looking at a huge state watching. I mean, China will have nothing on us when you look at all of these different aspects that don't look like they're connected, but they are, you know, and they will be if they aren't already. And so it's very concerning.
Go ahead, Zach.
No, it's exactly the point we were making earlier. They're building a system, and the web is going to be large, and it will ensnare all of us if we are not wise and do everything we can to make sure we are removed from it.
Yeah.
don't eat the cheese, and don't assume just because there's an R beside somebody's name that they have pure motives, and because they say they're a Christian and doing this and they would never let this happen to you as long as they're your representative. Don't tell me all that stuff. Show me.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a key thing is people need to understand that I like to call it the political industrial complex, because it's more than just R's and D's. They are all working really towards the same goal. While they differ on some things, the core issues of big government, they are collectively working together. And I think, it's one of the interesting things I have observed here in Florida, as opposed to Washington, where you did have a little bit resistance. But here in Florida, the committees I watch, they will constantly say, because here they will hear a bill, the sponsor will talk about the bill, they'll debate the bill, and then they'll vote it in the same committee hearing. Washington split those up into 2 hearings. And I hear all the time when they go to vote, legislators will say, well, I have some really serious concerns about this bill, but I don't want to hold up the bill, so I'm going to vote yes on it today.
Yeah,
like literally that's your job, is to hold up bad policies. That's your job.
Right.
The speed at which everything's going, it's kind of like outpacing the democratic part of our process,
Yeah.
But you really can't vote fast enough to replace people that are doing the wrong things, because there's so many bad things that happen so fast, so much bad legislation going through so fast that it just, there's really no accountability to the people because of the speed even.
And they don't come back next year. They don't ever come back and go, oh, whoops, we made a mistake over there. That actually ended up being a bad law. We'll come back and undo it next year. Everybody needs to understand that's not ever how it works. And, I think these policies should really open people's eyes, like the SAVE Act and especially the Protect Kids bills. That should be a huge eye opener to people about the political industrial complex and this huge, massive push for digital ID and collection of data of every citizen. I mean, the reason we need to protect kids, how we're going to protect kids is we're going to have to collect their data to know that they're a kid. And then we're going to monitor them as they go. So we'll know when they move to the next age category. Yes. And we'll need to figure out the parent connection. And then we'll need to know who's not a kid and who's I don't understand. It blows my mind. And I just don't understand how people just don't see it, or they just don't care. I don't know. It's both.
I saw on Discord that they're literally going to watch your conversations and the things that you're doing to see if you really are a teenager. Yep. And if you are, then you're going to be put in that category, and they're going to consistently watch it and keep track of it. So, if you did slide through the cracks and somehow we did think that you were an adult, but really you aren't because you're hanging out with teenagers. So I guess they're just going to watch everyone all the time.
They call it behavior monitoring.
Yeah. So that's Discord. Why would we think that Facebook and X and all the other ones aren't going to do that exact same thing? I mean, they are.
They will. They already are, right, for the most part, but they will do it more. And one of the things that I was thinking about, our Attorney General, James Uthmeier, did a press conference yesterday about predators online and parents wake up. And so as we have this behavior monitoring, what do online predators do? They act like they're the age of the victim, whatever their prey is, right? So are the predators going to get filtered into these child groups where they're going to be, prey, or where they're going to be able to prey on these kids? It's absolutely bananas to me.
Wow. That's a whole
interesting. Yeah.
I have a foolproof solution to making sure predators don't get your children. And that is that you don't let them online unmonitored by you, the parent. Like I said before, heaven forbid that you actually have to parent your kid.
Yeah.
We can't afford to be lazy, and you can't afford to be dumb enough to let your kid go on Discord or Roblox or one of these other sites and just let them have at it. If you had those kids, those are your kids. I'm going to pat you on the rear end to tell you get in there and parent them. That's you. That's your God-given charge, and you're going to be held accountable for that by the Lord. But you get out there and you be a big boy and a big girl, and you monitor what your kid is doing. We don't have this problem in my house because we don't let them on there. But what if they're not cool? What if they don't have a good time? Well, what if they don't live? What about that? What if they fall victim to a predator? So let's just not do that. Maybe they can go outside and play, get some vitamin D.
Amen. Amen. He was talking about the need for parents to parent their kids and prevent them from being prey to these predators in the first place. It's like if you knew that sending your kid into, this going home to have a sleepover, like I don't think kids have sleepovers anymore. Like when we were growing up, we had sleepovers with friends, right? If my mom knew that my friend's dad was a rapist and he had a criminal record, my parents wouldn't let me go spend the night, no matter how much kicking and screaming I did.
Right.
Like this is this is our digital world. Like, why are you letting your kid go into rooms, virtual rooms, where there are predators, sexual predators, whatever kind, child trafficking is a huge thing online. And so I completely agree with what Pastor Zach said is parents need to step up and do their job. It is not your job to be your child's friend. You are the parent, and it is your job to protect your child, not the government's. And one thing we always see, anytime government puts in more regulation on things, what happens? I mean, we're seeing this with the UK, like the use of VPNs just skyrocketed, and kids will want whatever you deny them, they're going to seek out. And so they're going to find ways around it. And one of the concerns I have with this whole parent-child connection coming from a state like Washington, this is just where my mind automatically goes. And especially after what happened with our kids, how do you know that a activist teacher isn't verifying that they're the parent to the child, and then letting your child download apps that you maybe wouldn't want them to? That's one of the big concerns for the LGBTQ community, is that kids won't have access to some of these inclusive apps that they do without having to have the parental consent. So their reasons for opposing these policies is much different than our reasons.
Yes.
But we are alliances as far as opposing the policy in general.
Wow. Yeah. Never even considered something like that. We're in Texas and you don't think about that stuff as much, especially we're rural Texas at that. But yeah, that is a real scary possibility. Wow.
There's so many pieces of these policies that lawmakers haven't thought through. And I know that to be fact because I've spoken directly to the lawmakers privately after these committee hearings, and they don't understand the policy, and they don't have answers to questions like, what type of data are these companies going to collect from children to know that they're a child? Is it a birth certificate?
Right.
And then what is the data to link the two parents? And here's something, sorry, I'm going to go a little bit in a different direction, but my kids are between the ages of 19 and 30. And so as my kids were growing up, all of this stuff started coming online. And I was one of those parents, I would post pictures of my kids on Facebook because I wanted my friends across the country to be able to see it. I never did post inappropriate pictures. Like, I don't like seeing pictures of people's kids on the potty when they're potty training. I just think, like, put that in the baby book. I don't think it's for public consumption.
Agreed.
But now that my kids are older and I look back, I'm like, was that my right to share their photos in a digital manner that Meta has all of that. I don't think we realized some of the impact and storage that these companies would have of our data. And now I look back and I'm like, wow, I uploaded, all these pictures of my kids, and now Meta has it, and who else has it? Did I have a right to that? And so then I started thinking about this do children have a right to privacy? If a child is 6 years old and a parent says, okay, I'm going to upload my child's birth certificate so that they can download apps and verify their age, does a parent really have the right to provide that child's data to a third party? Like, I mean, it's just a question that like I started thinking about. I'm like, what? I think this should be something that people start talking about, because I don't necessarily know if it's our right as parents to be giving that kind of data.
It's definitely a whole new world that we've never ever had to, figure out before.
Yeah.
When my
I don't
daughter
know.
was born, we used to
Those
share.
conversations get bypassed again because of the speed at which things are going.
Yeah.
The one thing that I keep hearing, and I heard it with school choice, is like, well, we have to do something. You talk to these legislators, and they say, well, but the public schools are so bad. We have to do something. And then it's the same thing. Well, the predators online are so bad. We have to do something. So this is better than nothing. And it's like, do you understand the unintended consequences of this bill and what's coming because of it? And they don't. But we do know that UNESCO and a lot of these globalists absolutely know what they're doing with this stuff. And it's being
100%.
packaged up in loving our kids and protecting our kids and giving a good education to our kids and protecting them from predators or saving the elections. Whatever it is, it's being packaged up with this beautiful bow, and you open it up and there is nothing good inside.
Yeah. Zach, did you want to?
Those unintended consequences, the wake-up call for us when our daughter was born, we were typical first-time parents where you video and photo everything that they do. And we're posting it on the internet, and a friend that was in law enforcement, internet crimes, pointed out to me that predators look for that.
Mm-hmm.
And they will pay attention to these kinds of things and where your kids are and what they're doing and who's with them, and will scheme around that if they see a child that they want. So we very quickly put a stop to that and quit putting it out there. The unintended consequences. Well, we're not predators, so we're not thinking like a predator would, but you can't afford to do that. Same thing with the government. You're not thinking in the line of a nefarious, tyrannical individual who's looking to collect everything on you so that they can know everything about you and gain control over you. But you've got to start thinking that way. You can't just assume there's good motives.
Totally agree. We should play a game. Brian and Joy, what do you think Zach just said?
I bet it had something to do with the Bible.
No, he was just talking. He was explaining how he and his wife with their firstborn were putting stuff on social media, documenting the moments. And a law enforcement friend explained, kind of clicked that, made that connection of, predators. And I think, we've done the experiment, right, of kids and posting, various things on social media. It's been around long enough now that we know it's bad for kids. We know that oversharing is an invasion of our privacy, our family's privacy. And, we have a duty to protect our children. And that duty starts with us, the parents. When our child is in danger because we failed to keep them safe from online dangers, we have to take responsibility for that and step up and start protecting our children. These government mandates will not protect children from the harms that are out there. They are only, there's all these loopholes, and this is nothing but a sales pitch to get citizens to willingly give up their data and the data of their children. And we must oppose these policies, even though they are going to ram them through. I think we need to make sure that we go down kicking and screaming with this stuff.
Yes.
So we have gone quite over we were doing a little tech stuff behind the scenes, but it is now 12:20. I'm sure you all want to go and grab some lunch. We're going to be back on the second Wednesday of March. I want to say it's going to be like the 10th. I don't know the dates exactly, but we will be back the second Wednesday of March at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, and 11 a.m. Central. And we'll have more stuff to chat with you about. Please make sure that you go follow Grayson County Conservatives on social media. If you just look up Grayson County Conservatives on X and Facebook, and then GraysonCountyConservatives.com. They are doing great work in Texas, and we really enjoy working with you guys, and I really feel like there's very few true grassroots groups like ours that are really the citizens trying to be the voice in the room with all of these, political actors. And so for those in Texas, definitely give them a follow. And even if you're not in Texas, they're doing this important work that, bringing these issues to the attention of citizens. Thanks you guys for your time again today. And I look forward to figuring out what kind of crazy things are going to come up in the next few weeks that we're going to cover in March. There's no shortage. Hopefully, I imagine though that we're going to be talking about some bills that have passed since we did this live stream, and that makes me sad. But at least we can wake up the people. And just want to reiterate Zach's comment, especially for the Christians in the room. It is our duty to be wise as serpents and gentle as doves, and we must be very discerning, especially as we have these government policies that are being pushed onto us and to our families. So go be wise as serpents and gentle as doves. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.